Okay, welcome everybody tonight. I'm sorry we're just a little late. We were in closed session and speaking on personnel matters. So at this time, I've opened the first public portion. Oh, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to come back?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, now we can go into the first public portion on agenda items only. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward and state your name and address.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the audience, viewing audience, members of the board, listeners, are you the president or the chairperson?
I'm chairperson last night, president tonight.
No, you're the president here.
No, I'm chair. Whatever you want to call me, Dave.
I'm your name.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
There are two people present at this meeting this evening. Page 4, item 9. July Bennett. Can you please explain that from December 18, 2017 to December 18, 2017?
Ms. Majora, Ms. Bennett, it says there, has taken an extension request for maternity leave of absence, or medical leave of absence, from December 18 until April 6th.
Mr. Garrido, do you have a call for a cold?
I'm sorry,
You have a sore throat?
I'm a little bit of
I won't ask any more questions. We'll rest your throat.
Thank you.
That's it for today's, but I wanted to talk about that underfunding and overfunding that the auditors mentioned. Can I talk about that? When I come back. Yes. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Bye.
Do you want me to close the door?
So here's at 115 Berwick Street, agenda item 7. Is that the same salary as last year?
Yes.
Thank you. And just why is it effective January 1st as opposed to January?
So the reason for that is that the summer camp requires them to do a lot of pre-preparation work. And actually, it's the majority of the year, so January 1st,
Okay.
it starts.
Thank you for the clarification. Oh. Do the paychecks start in June or do they start now?
They start in June.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the first public portion. At this time, any committee reports?
Yes, Mr. President, if you don't mind, I have two quick ones. The first one is on the tech committee. We're starting up, and I'm chairing the tech committee along with Mr. Girton and Mr. Cancino. Mr. Cancino and Mr. Girton, I've been in touch with Mr. Hyde, who is the tech director of our district, if that's a proper term. I'm talking with him, and we're going to arrange a meeting. So I want to reach out to you guys to set up a meeting with him. And I have his availability, which we can talk about later, of course. But the purpose of this initial meeting is to look at the technology department's goals and how they align with our goals as a board and also the community as well going forward. So I'll be reaching out to you guys after this meeting. And another on finance, just want to let you know it is the budget season for preparation, but we met on the 19th as a committee for the first time, and in that committee meeting, we were discussing, the different the timelines involved. But really, the budget process started way in September when Mrs. Garcia and Mr. Garrido got the requests from the administration of the various schools in our district for what they needed. And also, there's a budget software that was released as well that will help Mrs. Garcia with her cost calculations. And right now, we're currently in a state of looking at some unknowns, and some of the unknowns are basically the salaries going into next year, as well as the healthcare costs, which we should be getting an estimate on the healthcare costs later this month, and also the state aid figures. And we have a new governor in Trenton, and the timeline with the governor's budget address is going to be probably pushed back to March 13th. And what's important about that is that the state aid figures will be released on March 15th. So once we get those state aid figures, and hopefully they'll be more than last year, Mrs. Garcia can go forward with preparing our budget. And then the budgets, all school district budgets in New Jersey will be due, in the county will be due to the county office on March 20th. So that's where, as a board right now, that's our board meeting date, March 20th. That's our next meeting here at Aldine. And we need to, pass our budget that we can submit to the county for approval. So where we are right now, board members, is that we need to look at moving that meeting, our March 20th meeting on Tuesday, to the Monday, the 19th of March. By that, we can approve the budget that can be submitted to the state. I'm sorry, Mr. Gary? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Harms?
I was under the impression that there was still a chance, I'm not saying it's going to happen, if the governor doesn't go until the 13th, that submitting it, because I don't know how you submit if you don't have a chance to put it all together in a fair manner to look at what you have. And I guess I assume then that the county doesn't care of what you have to do to put stuff together so you can have your people who have to pay for it to give it a fair shot at trying to put a budget together without knowing the figures on the 15th, and then you have to do it 4 days later.
Sure. Mrs. Garcia, if you could add to that, please.
Yes. Mr. Harms, you're absolutely correct. Nothing is official at the moment. Nothing is definite. I attended our county business administrators meeting on Friday, along with the county business administrator. Their feeling at the moment, again, because nothing is official, is that the new governor will not give his budget address to March 13th. State aid figures will be released on the 15th, and they will not change the original due date of March 20th. And yes, they do expect all boards to then move their meeting dates to accommodate that and have it done, as ridiculous as it might sound to everybody, especially to me. I will be working all of that weekend so that it gets done in time for those obligations. But as soon as it becomes official, I will certainly let you and the rest of the board know the official dates.
I just thought they might be a little more considerate than what they are.
What I was told that it has happened in the past like that. I believe 8 years ago, something similar happened, and they didn't give any extension.
So, Chris, we
So
have
it is
to-
a possibility.
Okay, so do we wait a little bit for that, or do we do it right away?
Oh, no, I think we have I think we have some time, and I think we can address this at the next meeting on the 20th of February, if we're going to actually move that board date. But I just wanted to put that in everyone's mind that, you know, we're going to possibly have to go to the 19th of March instead of the 20th, if that is our hard deadline on the 20th. Okay, so we'll revisit next meeting. Great. Okay, and just to finish up too, one of the other unknowns that we need to make a decision of as a board is the STEAM Lab funding, and that is the high school science wing for robotics and also industrial arts, as well as many other things that I'm not mentioning right now, and how we're going to pay for that. And as the finance committee right now, we're currently exploring the bond option, which was brought up at the board at a previous board meeting. And we are also, the other option that we discussed is using the money, the extra state aid that we have, and applying it to help offset the cost of the STEAM Lab. So those are our two choices. And I should have some more information a little bit later on the bond option and the logistics, but and also the state aid, and using the state aid to offset the cost and to keep it within those cost parameters that we discussed earlier and had that lengthy discussion on a few meetings ago. So that's one thing that we need to look at and make a decision, and hopefully we can have another conversation at the next board meeting and decide, okay, this is where we want to go with the STEAM Lab funding and this project for our high school students. And let's see, last but not least, we're going to be meeting this Monday, the Finance Committee, I should say, will be meeting this February 12th, Monday at 4:30. And basically we'll be looking at new figures and the timeline if there are any changes from the state as we proceed. Public meetings is very important to us as well, to let the public know about our budget and what we are looking to, what we have submitted to the state and to explain it to the public. And currently right now the Finance Committee has determined that we'll have one public workshop meeting, and leaving the option open though for more if demand warrants it as well. And then of course we're going to have, before we finalize the budget, we will have that public hearing during a Board of Ed meeting as well. So really it's two meetings, but that's all I have to say, and we'll have more for you at our next meeting. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I attended a special ed meeting on February 1st at the middle school. Learned a lot about special needs children and adults in the district. And I believe a couple days earlier there was an ESL. I'd just like to make a little point, if we can update the website, that this information, these meetings were last week. I didn't see it, and there was a couple concerned parents. It was not on the website. The ESL meeting, I think, was Monday, last Monday of the month, and then February 1st was the special ed at the middle school.
Mr. Signora, are you speaking specifically about the calendar on the website?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And I believe, I think we're going to thank Councilwoman Negron, but I think somebody called up and said that our meeting was on TV3. Excuse me, wow, I'm really going back to age. TV3, by TV 34 last night, and thank you so much. So I just verified. You give me a nod. It was. Anybody see it last night?
I have a memo here from the Borough Clerk stating that we've made progress with it in regards to the Board of Ed meetings on TV 34, not 3. By the looks of it, if all goes well, they had a trial run. From what I understand, they had some sound issues. They straightened that out. But it should be going sometime this week. So, thank you.
Thank you, yes.
This was done very quickly, and I'm grateful to whoever brought it up on the board and for council and the members of the board or the administration here going forward with this and getting it to come to fruition.
And briefly, we had a facilities committee with some small issues with recreation, basketball, wrestling, and we're working it out. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Good evening, everyone in the audience. I do have just a few items that I wanted to report on. Back January 18th, we had an unannounced and surprise visit from the State Department of Education, the Office of Emergency Preparedness and Security. This is part of the former governor's initiative on school security. Just to make it clear, this is not just Roselle Park selected. They have visited, I believe, over 800 schools in the state, and I believe we were the last one in Union County that they visited. So, it was actually very informative visit. We had a member from the Department of Education. He is the person in charge of the Office of Emergency Preparedness and Security. We had a member of the prosecutor's office attend as well. We have members of the New Jersey State Troopers. We have members of the Roselle Park Police Department there, and of course the administration that took part of the drills. They visited 3 of our buildings. One, Robert Gordon Elementary School. The other one was the middle school and the high school. Again, they were there just to come in and see how we prepare our emergency drills. And they did ask each principal to conduct an active shooter drill in each of the building. They did begin the visits to the building, and this is very interesting, by having one of the state troopers ring the bell. He did explain that we had an updated new visitors policy that we instituted about 4 years ago, where visitors needed to make a call 15 minutes prior to visiting the building. The state trooper rang the bell. He was in a suit. He was in the usual police uniform, and rang the building. And in all 3 buildings, the main office gave the state trooper a really hard time. He was asking that he was there because he was a parent of one of the students. And the director of the Emergency Preparedness and Security commended the district, the main office staff, as well as the administrators for having such a strict visitors policy in place. So I wanted to thank the board in terms of making sure that this became a reality 4 years ago. They did indicate that the majority of the schools that they have visited, they had easy access, and most of the violence that happens in schools is because of the easy access to buildings. So, I'm proud to say that we make a very strong effort to keep our students and stay safe in all the buildings. They were not here as a gotcha type of visit. They were here more to give us best practices on safety and security. The suggestions that they made were not mandates or requirements, but they did give us some really helpful recommendations and suggestions to move forward. I will go over it with the board because obviously there's security. We are meeting, Mrs. Gersha and I are meeting with all the principals and administrators to go over all the recommendations, and we may need to make some adjustments to our policy for safety and security. But once again, it was a very informative and pleasant visit. We took most of the morning, started at 9, and I think we finished about 1. So they did take their time to go through everything with us. But, our security drills are really effective. And again, I'm very proud of our administrative staff and our staff for doing such a great job. So congratulations to everyone who participated in the drills. Our high school had their 8th grade orientation and open house, and it was a complete success. This was back January 22nd. 2nd, I believe. Almost 200 parents attended. It was very well received. It was very well attended. The staff did an incredible job in not only promoting but also explaining the programs that we have in place and really the vision that we have for our high school students as they enter from the middle school, which is a very difficult transition. And this leads me to my next report. The school performance report was made public about a month ago or so. I did report very brief at the last meeting, but I do have a little bit more of information. Later on in the spring, I will make a PowerPoint presentation on the entire report. But I just wanted to give you some initial information that we looked through it. The majority of our schools did meet the target, almost 100% of the student growth, which is what we want to see. So our students are making academic growth. We were slightly below in the area of math, and we have been addressing this since the test scores came out. We have a brand new math program at the elementary school. We have a committee that we put together for all grade levels, all the different elementary, middle school, and high school, that are looking at data very closely, inspecting that data, analyzing that data, and bringing back reports to the teachers to see if we can make improvement in math. Our ELA scores were very good. In most of the grade levels, we were at or above state percents, so we're very happy with that. Student growth obviously is measured on the improvement that students make from one year to the other, and that's a new piece of the reports that are coming out now, and I'm very pleased with that because I think that's what really shows districts where we need to work on. And it looks more the individual students rather than the entire district performance. So I think it's a very good thing. Our high school, once again, was designated as high performing in academic achievement and graduation and post-secondary measures. We're very happy. They came up with a new score now. I don't really know if it means much, but they scored a 60, and I think that's pretty good scores for our high school here. Some of the more affluent districts with a bigger budget than we have, I saw somewhere between 65 and 75, 72, so we're very close. Mr. Miller mentioned our hope and for planning, our vision for having a STEAM wing in the very near future, and I think that would definitely propel us to greater things in terms of our academic success. Our middle school was designated high performing in academic achievement in college and career readiness, and a couple of areas in our elementary we exceeded, not met, but exceeded our student growth percentage as well. So we're very happy to report we have a ways to go. We're never satisfied. We always try to reach higher standards for our staff and for our students, and we will continue to do so. Just another piece of information which I reported before. The County Office of Education will be visiting our district on February 27th and 28th for their 3-year, what is called New Jersey QSEC monitoring. And they do monitor in 5 different elements. And we're looking forward to it. We already did some pre-work preparing. We already had a pre-meeting leading to the visit. On the 27th, they will be at the central office just doing an audit, a desk audit. And then on the 28th, they will be out in the different buildings, going to visit classrooms, going to visit the buildings, and making sure that everything that we tell them on the 27th is actually happening on the 28th. So that is all I have for you. Things are going well. Things will continue to go well. I will make a lengthy presentation via PowerPoint, probably in May, most likely. Strategic planning this week, I will be sending out emails to the staff to see who would like to participate, as we did in the past, and I will put out on the website to see if there are any community interest And of course, we will have a survey out so we can get those that cannot participate in the committee can also have input on where we are heading for the next 3 years. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, Mr. Guido. At this time, we'll move on to the agenda. Agenda items 1 through 2 under policy. District policy adopt 6140. District policy adopt 6141. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any comments?
Again, I want to thank because we're coming to the end of a very lengthy process in adopting our new revised policies. I want to thank the Board Operations Committee, Mr. Casino, Chair, and the other members. This was a really long, tedious work, but it was very well worth it, obviously, to always update our policies. What you will see at the next meeting is we will be rescinding some policies that were merged in this process. So we need to now rescind. So there'll be a list of policies that will be rescinded. Thank you so much.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Vice President Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Cancino,
Yes.
Mr. Gerton,
Yes.
Mr. Hemingway,
Yes.
Mr. Leingang,
Yes.
Ms. Powers, Mr. Sekou,
Yes.
Mr. Signorello,
Yes.
President Harms.
Yes.
On
Motion
roll
carries.
call, motion carries.
Motion carries. I'm so used to it. On the agenda, under personnel, consent agenda motion under personnel. These are items 3 through 11. District substitutes, 4, degree change, 5, staff recognition and resignation, 6, staff retirements, 7, staff appointment, 8, additional WISE and energized with math personnel, medical leave of absence extension request, maternity leave of absence request, and 11, curriculum writing 2018. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second, but I have to abstain on 6C. I don't want to go to
Any comments or?
Yes, actually I do, Mr. President. So I wanted to clarify, and this goes back, and actually, Lauren, you may recall when we talked about that. Is there a policy of how far removed the teachers have to be from the graduating class? So on here, I realize we have somebody that's about 3.5 years out of high school. And potentially could be substituting at the 9 to 12 grade level. I thought our policy or our practice was 4+ years removed from high school.
I'm not sure, I'll have the superintendent see if he can answer that.
Yeah, I don't believe seeing that policy, Mr. Gerton, but I would certainly look into it.
And I specifically, and Lauren,
Yes.
I'm going to you.
Yes.
I remember we had this with some coaches
Yes.
and some other things, and I thought it was the same way with the staff in classrooms as well, and I may be mistaken.
I definitely remember the coaching part of it, and I'm not positive, but I think there was some discussion of the substitutes that could be in the classroom with the students. Again, I'm not positive with that, but let's have the superintendent check it out, Mr. Gerton.
Yeah, and if you could come back to me with that paper, we'll bring it to the committee. I just want to be cautious.
Yes.
And maybe at this point, I would recommend, from a personnel perspective, that we make the appointment on that, let's call it D, line D, from PK to 8. to be a little bit of risk adverse there, and then we can always come back and make it from 9 to 12.
Mr. Gordon, can you repeat that? I'm trying to.
So, fourth teacher down, Christine Petruzzo.
Yes, right?
I would suggest it would not be PK through 12, but rather PK through 8.
Okay,
And then we can review it at committee, and take it from there.
we can review it, but I'm not sure it has to, I mean, we can leave it at grade 8 to make it, because I don't, all right, we can leave it the way. Okay, and we'll investigate it and see if there's anything there. Good point.
I mean, so being a substitute is a hard enough job, right?
You're right, and if you're standing there with you're 20 and they're 18, it's a little tough.
Age can't be a factor, but
Well,
we have to realize it.
right.
But that's also assuming that, that person, Susan Ruffing, is, she is not like she went back.
That's why I was going to graduation requirements.
Right.
4 years removed from graduation, it's not about age, it's
Thank you.
Right, it's got ages.
And at this point, I don't want to remove Christina Petruzzo from the agenda, but let's appoint her at PK through 8, at all, teacher, paraprofessional, and then we can investigate further and adjust on a future agenda, if the board agrees with that.
I agree, we can just leave it at K through 8, instead of even, I mean, we can look in and see if there is anything in the policy of years removed from school, but we can just appoint her just as it is right now up to grade 8, and she just doesn't get into the high school. That's all. I mean, she goes kindergarten through it. Thank you for the comment, Mr. Gordon. I'd like to make a comment on the staff retirements. Mary Reagan, Ann Moore, and Ms. Susan Carlson. I know Ms. Carlson's been here for at least 36 years or more, and I think Ms. Moore, is it Ms. Moore? I think she's been here 39. How much? Okay. I was shorting her a few years. So over 40 years, and I just want to wish them all the best in their retirement. Enjoy it. And I thank them for their dedication to our children. They might have been in other areas before they got into the guidance counseling area. And again, I wish them all the best and health for a very long retirement. Any other comments? Seeing or hearing none, I think I said seeing. Roll call, please.
Point of order, are we supposed to vote on the amendment to the item on personnel?
I'm not sure you have to.
All right, Jeff, it's K to 8.
PK.
K through 8.
PK, 3K3.
You're just changing the numbers.
He's just making the revision at the table, so you're voting on it. You're voting on it as the appointment being PK through 8.
We don't have to vote on that change?
No.
Okay.
No. Just a suggestion based on it. If there's no other comments, anything, roll call, please.
Vice President Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Cancino,
Yes.
Mr. Gurdon,
Yes.
Mr. Hemingway,
Yes.
Mr. Langen,
Yes.
Ms. Powers,
Yes.
Mr. Sekou,
Yes.
Mr. Signorella,
Yes.
President Harms.
Yes.
On roll call, motion carries.
Agenda items 12 through 17. 12, 2018 Roselle Park Summer Camp. 13, education programs. 14, educational trip requests. 15, workshop attendance request. 16, ESY program 2018. 17, ESL Title I Summer enrichment program. We'll have a motion.
I make that motion.
Do we have a second? Any comments? Seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Under business, agenda items 18 through 22. 18, approval of bills. 19, donation. 20, approval of minutes. 21, secretary treasury report. 22, use of buildings and grounds.
For a small thing, 22 and a half, I think the dates are wrong. Dates are the dates. I think it's,
Should be the ninth, right?
well, the 9th of the Monday.
So we only have one day against that, right? Oh, 8 and 12. So, yeah. Friday and Monday?
Thursday's right.
Thursday's, Friday should be Monday.
Right.
Right. Friday should be Monday.
Any other comment?
Mr. President, for number 20, approval of minutes, I would like to abstain from January 16th. I was not there.
Mr. President, I would also like to abstain from number 20, January 16th. I was not present either at that meeting.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other comments?
I'm sorry, so for F, what Mr. Hemingway was saying, what was that?
Friday should be Monday.
Yes.
The word Friday.
Right,
The word
okay,
Friday should just be Monday.
okay,
I don't think we have a
Dates are the
motion,
same.
Mr. President.
What? I'm sorry?
Do we have a motion yet?
Not yet.
no.
I thought we had a motion.
Yeah.
We have a motion.
We've accelerated it a little bit.
You seconded it. And Mr. Yeah.
No, that was education.
That was under education.
So, can I get a clarification? It's supposed to be
Okay,
Monday?
before we do that, can I have a motion for items
So moved.
12 through,
18 to
or 18 through 22?
Mr. Ryan,
Second.
Mr. Miller, second. Okay, now we can have comments.
No, I just didn't know if it was actually Friday, Thursday and Friday the 8th and 9th, or Monday the 12th. That's all.
Right.
What is it? You probably have it in your calendar.
Yeah, Mr.
No,
Miller?
it's this Thursday, the 8th, and then Monday, the 12th.
Oh, okay.
So the dates are correct, it's just
Yeah.
Friday should be Monday.
Correct.
And there was another comment? Or no?
No.
Okay. I thought I heard something. Okay. So we have had a motion, we've had a second, we discussed it. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Just want to verify. Just want to verify I'm being right here. No, we need to go there. Okay. Let me find the other part of this agenda because I took it apart just before it was over. Continuing business. Do we have any?
Is there a,
Okay. Ahead.
President?
Okay. This side over here to my left.
Oh, we can't see you.
Okay, I'm sorry. This side to
All
my
right,
left.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Last meeting, we had a conversation about underfunding, and Ms. Gershio said that our district is underfunded to the tune of, and if you can correct me if I'm wrong, 1.5 million. Later on in that meeting, I asked if Ms. Osborne can look into a petition that's being filed by numerous school districts throughout New Jersey about getting fully funded. So my question to Ms. Osborne, have you looked into that and what have you discovered?
I'll have Ms. Osborne talk about it, but she is responding to your request here, and it's lengthy. So I'm not sure that we're gonna read, I think she would just give us a brief synopsis of what's in there. Is that, that's all right, Mr.
Am I-
Segal? Sure.
Mr., okay, sorry. So yes, in response to your request, correspondence was sent to President Harms on January 18th. And the synopsis of that is that we did look into the matter. Currently, while there is active litigation and there is a law firm that is representing the Newton School District along with a number of other school districts, what those attorneys state, which we would agree with, is that currently there is very little case law out there to support their sort of quest with respect to trying to get this matter resolved in favor of their district. So at the moment, it's our recommendation that if we're looking at it from a cost-benefit analysis, we don't recommend that the district move forward with it. We are watching the matter. We've asked Mr. Garrido to forward us any additional correspondence that he receives from the attorneys who are spearheading that litigation, because they do receive regular updates. They've sort of created a listserv of all districts, including Roselle Park, that would potentially fall into this category. And while we certainly, can't promise you that this is the correct recommendation in terms of not jumping in now, we do not see the cost-benefit return for the district to jump in at this point in time.
Mr. Segal, just to follow on Ms. Osborne is saying, I also checked with some superintendents from districts that are having the same situation. They are taking a wait-and-see approach as well. I just wanted to follow up with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gurdon?
So there's been a little discussion down here at this end. February 20th, we have a board meeting scheduled. We're not in, class is not in that day, right? That's the students aren't in that day. Are we still planning to have that board meeting that evening?
Go ahead.
Yeah, the only problem, Mr. Gurdon, if we do move it to the following week, and, the board can, Mr. Arms actually can comment on this, we will have a back-to-back meetings on the 26th, I believe, and the 27th, and then on the 5th, 6th?
Well, but now we're here and we may be moving that 6th anyhow, right?
No, the 6th has to stay, yeah.
20th, March 20th.
The 20th, Mr. Chairman, it would be March 20th. We would go to the 19th.
So, I guess I'm just asking for clarity. We're keeping that meeting?
As of right now, I think we
On the
should.
20th?
The custodians are here, and I can't remember if we had it last year or not when they weren't in, but I'm not seeing any reason why we should when we have back-to-backs, and there's no reason not to have it.
What are we requesting, February 20th?
Yeah. So, let's just...
We're not pushing anything. February 20th is the meeting, so we're not moving that anything. We're moving March 20th to the 19th. But right now, we're going to wait a little bit to see what happens before we make that final notification sent out. March 20th, not February.
Correct, what Mr. Gurdon is saying is that on the 20th, there's no school.
Right, we've had meetings when there was no school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Are the custodians going to be here in the evening?
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, they're on their normal schedule. So, that's why I don't think there's any reason to change it. Any other continuing business? Any new business?
Yes. I'd like to, we talked about talk about the wrestling team with 1,000 wins. And, as soon as the school wrestling season's over, that we bring them to a school board meeting and recognize them, because I'm sure they're going to have a tour of the mayor and council, probably maybe the county freeholders are gonna, so I would say that we should probably bring them into the school board meeting and then coordinate to see what other nights are going where. So it is a milestone, a national milestone. It was nice to see last week at the, the city council meeting that Congressman Payne was there, and I believe he's going to, I don't know if he's going to get back to the borough on when he goes on the floor. He's going to, I guess he gets to make a nice statement that in his district that the Borough of Rosa Parks wrestling team had 1,000 wins and only 4 have done it nationally. So let's keep an eye on this, and then if we come, wait to talk to Mr. Foy, Coach Rooney, and bring him into the board meeting and acknowledge this milestone.
I think it's a great idea. From what I understand, the mayor has already mentioned this, 1,000 wings, so, but I would like to do it when we meet at the high school, since we honor the students in each building. Does anybody know when the next high school? All the way to June? No, we're not going to wait that long. Next month. Should be.
No, next month is Sherman.
Check.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
on check.
Okay. Mr. Signorino, if it's April? All right. Well, I think that would be a good time to do it in April, because we still have the states coming up, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And so I think April. Well,
Wait till they finish, and we'll see when they can come in.
That's what I'm saying. I think April will be, I would like to have it the first meeting in April, because the second meeting, we usually have other students come in and be recognized, and I want to kind of, I'm going to say separated, if that's a correct term to use, but I think this is I'm taking anything away from the academics, but this feat that we've done here in this district with our wrestling team, there's only, I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but there's only 3 in the country. 3 in the country. Out of this whole country, there's only 3. And in the state of New Jersey, there's 2. Paulsboro and Roselle Park. So, again, that's why I'd like to do it in the first meeting. Mr. Signorino, if that's possible, we could do it, so this way they can kind of stand alone and have a nice presentation for them.
That would be April 10th.
April 10th?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. So, I'm sorry.
Just a preliminary, there's a good chance that the wrestling folks are going to have in May, a wrestling dinner to acknowledge this feat. I know the people that tried to come into town, it was kind of at the 11th hour, but to be continued in May, maybe in town or nearby a restaurant, we're going to have a dinner celebrating this milestone.
So good. Okay, and more will come out about that in what you need. So I would like to see on April 10th that we bring the wrestling team in with the coaches. And if we could, Mr. Sigmund, I'd ask you, if there was other coaches that might be in the area, if we could get their names and ask them to come to recognize them also.
We passed varsity coaches.
Well, we had, just to let everybody know, when we had the match that we won our 1,000 match, we had a 1943, correct me if I'm wrong, or 1945 wrestler that attended. Was it that?
It was a state champ, correct.
He was a state champ. If he's around, I'd like to invite him to come and also give him kind of a little certificate saying thank him from kind of maybe starting it, right? So maybe what we could do, Mr. Signorelli, is if we could get some names and see if we can reach out to some of these. I mean, I'd like this board to make this quite nice. Is that agreeable?
Agreeable.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other new business?
So I actually have one here, Mr. President. Under new business, my understanding is the mayor and council is potentially exploring some new business opportunities with dispensaries in town. And with that being said, I believe legislation won't override the fact that you have to maintain 1,000 feet within schools for a drug-free school zone. So just, I don't know from board perspective, if we want to send a note over to the mayor and council and remind them of that. That doesn't leave a whole lot of town space in our small town for a business such as that, being that we have multiple, 6 buildings, education buildings in town.
Mr. Goodman, I just want to back up. This is the first I'm hearing that.
Well, I guess there's an opportunity for it to be out there, and towns have to apply to the state, and there's a changing political landscaping where something like this may occur, right? So let's just, I would rather our board be proactive, preemptive, whatever we need to do. Just to, if it happens from a political standpoint, that's fine, but I just want to make sure that our schools aren't influenced and aren't taken back by it.
Absolutely.
And if it's not happening now, it will happen in the near future, right? So I don't know what we do from a board perspective.
Sure.
But I raise that up.
That's all coming from, but again, because they have to come to a municipal area to get this approval. So I'm not sure where that's coming from, but anyhow, I thank you for bringing that up. I would ask that the
maybe we call up a resolution or something, just to, what's those?
Jennifer, do we have to make a resolution or just send a letter to the mayor and council stating that, please remember that if you decide at any time down the path that you have to remember there's an X amount of feet, you can't have anything within the boundaries of our schools.
So you could do it one of 2 ways. You could pass a resolution that actually puts forth the board's sort of position, which would just be the reminder that you just stated.
Okay.
Or you could pass a resolution that says that on behalf of the board, a letter is going to be sent.
What's more powerful,
So,
for lack of another word?
I think both have the same sort of impact on the town end, but a resolution is something that the whole public would be able to see because it's in your agenda, so you might like that option.
I would ask that the next meeting, we have come up with a resolution stating our position, and just to remind the council members of the footage that they can have a, what'd you call it, Tony?
Marijuana
I
dispensary.
understand. I was trying not to use that word. I was just going to be.
Why are we tiptoeing around this marijuana dispensary?
I know what it is. I was born at night, but not last night.
It's a dispensary.
I know what you're now, but I just was trying to not use that word. Sorry. Okay. So anyhow, we'll thank you, Mr. Gerber, for bringing that up, and we'll have a resolution for the next meeting. Yeah, but councilwoman here is laughing because,
And you know what? It may not be happening now, but in the state here, it's going to change here. Let's get ahead of it.
It's coming. Okay. Any other new business?
Real quick, Mr. President, if I may, just on January 23rd, I met with Mr. Brito and also many staff from the district concerning the calendar for 2018-2019. And we are almost ready to give everyone the draft. There's a couple other corrections we have to make, but I will be distributing the draft to the board to peruse and hopefully to approve at the next board meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I know a lot of time has been gone into this calendar. And I know there's been many changes in there, and few come back, and I know that Mr. Miller was on the committee, has definitely looked into these things so we don't break out educational part of it so much. I mean, the one calendar I saw was broken this week and that week and this week, and I agree with Mr. Miller that it's way too much to be taking the time away from the education of our children just so somebody can have a day off. And I know we have to work on it, 180 days. I understand all that good stuff, but again, I think our kids are very important to get an education. Okay, thank you again. Any other new business? Hearing none, at this time I'll open the second public portion, and any speaker wishing to come forward can speak on any topic. And please state your name and address. 636.
Jacob Pagera, 612 Sheridan Avenue, Roosevelt Park. Mr. Sekou, was that 1.4 million or 1.5 million underfunded?
I believe, and I'll address Ms. Gershio, is it 1.5, is that what you said, Ms. Gershio, at our last meeting?
I believe Mr. Majera is correct.
Oh,
with the
1.4.
1.4 million.
Okay, thank you for the correction.
Thank you. And no, I address this to Mr. Signorella. You don't have anything on right now. You made some comments at the council meeting last Thursday in reference to fire safety, fire alarms, and 13 people that died. Would you please repeat that for, not now, take one time.
So he'll have to wait till next meeting for that.
I don't know if you folks were aware that Mrs. Nancy Kinlaw passed away.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. At the council meeting, it was mentioned that some technical group at the high school was in a competition, and they came in 44th in the world.
I don't know about that, but it was the robotics.
Actually, the next meeting, I will report, Mrs. Costa is going to send me all that information. They're still ongoing. Our robotics team is doing very well.
But the mayor had said 44.
Right, I don't have that information, the definite place, but they did extremely well. I will be reporting at the next meeting.
Also on televising the board meeting, you only mentioned Channel 34, but Channel 34 is Comcast and Channel 32 is Verizon.
Jake, I'll have the superintendent send it to them to find out. I was just reading the email that was sent about TV 34, so we can check out and make sure it's on TV 32 too.
Yeah, both.
Yes.
Because they're Verizon. Because if we don't put Verizon on, they're not going to give us any money. And we were 261 for the SAT scores.
61 for this. What scores?
SAT scores?
SAT
Did
scores.
I read it right? I don't know. It was on the internet.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry. It was on the internet. It was just not read.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who's going to speak? Please come state your name.
12 Woodside Avenue, Roosevelt Park, New Jersey. Ladies and gentlemen. No. All right, Keith Hyman. As far as the TV34 and the 32, it's the same signal, so there's no need to check to see if this or that. Once it's on 34, it's on 32, the same. Also, televising bringing back is good because I was involved with some of you, like in high school and through working at the township TV station. But if we can look at like the possibility of not using a consumer grade camera or use something that can capture the picture a little bit better and audio too, because you have the audio system here. It doesn't take much to integrate what you have there into the connection there. So maybe we can, the board can check on getting that. That's something simple. Just looking at the audio patch was getting a camera that can produce a better picture and not like a wide shot like you're in the security camera. So that would be great. But at least you're moving back, and people hopefully can hear it once the audio enhancements are taken into consideration.
Okay, good, thank you. It's a start.
Jamie and Grown, 117 East Westfield Ave. I just wanted to tell you guys that you're on TV 34 or 32, same thing. I was working with Mr. Henney and the borough clerk, so like he also mentioned, the audio is the only thing we got to figure out a way to fix that, but you guys are good to go. Also, we were talking about the math scores being low, just as a mom now, not speaking as your council liaison, but my son's in 5th grade and he went from being an AB student last year in math, and he's getting progress reports every year now, in danger of failing at the beginning of each marking period. And then he just barely makes a C by the end of the marking period. So he's also high functioning autistic, so he takes everything super personally. So his teacher has to work with him a lot to try to encourage him that it's a new curriculum, it's not him. But just as a mother's point of view, he feels super defeated, and he thinks that he calls himself dumb a lot, and I have to try to tell him that it's just a process. So it's kind of hard, but you're saying you need something prepared to for next year, but by next year he'll be in middle school. So it's kind of tough for the 5th graders because then they're going to move on and you're not really going to have the same elementary curriculum to compare them to. So this year is just hard for no reason for him, so maybe next year kind of cut it off on 4th, and it would probably be a better idea. That's just a suggestion. And then as far as the dispensary for marijuana, just so you know, that was just brought up in the mayor's report that he had a round table with other mayors. Council hasn't even tried to chip at that block yet. I can't even wait. Nobody that I know has sat down and even tried to form an opinion on it. So it's not something I think you guys have to worry about in the very immediate future. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Mr. Grove, you wouldn't need a resolution then because council.
Yeah, no, we're not looking to act on it at the next meeting. We haven't even really discussed it. It's all.
No, I said, you mentioned that we probably need a resolution, or a resolution was discussed. So, yes, but what
I'll relay your concerns.
they haven't even moved forward with this. So.
Yeah, no, and I'll make sure I relay your concerns with the rest of.
Again, a board member brought up, I think we should do it just again. If we have to do it again, we'll do it again.
It's nothing, everything is in a working progress since the new governor took over, so.
We'll just.
Letting you guys know you don't have to worry.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
So here's the 150 Berwyn Street, and then following what the councilwoman / mother / resident Negron stated. So the issue is that, and I'll preface this by saying that I think whatever the position is, I think it's good because even if there is no dispensary here and marijuana is made legal, that's still an issue, right? And I guess legally, can you prohibit someone from doing something,
Exactly.
Right. But the issue, there's a proposed bill, and the bill will limit any dispensaries within the state. And this bill, part of it is an opportunity to have municipalities opt in or opt out to say, yes, we would be willing, or no, we wouldn't be willing. So that's where the mayor was talking about. But again, there's a lot of legal issues that I guess need to be brought up to clarify that. And in reference to the power outage that happened last night, had heard that at least 3 of the schools had gone into generator failure. And at this meeting, or at a Board of Ed meeting, it was the only one. Regardless, I guess, first we should find out which is the case. Was there a major failure, systemic failure, or was there one failure? And secondly, is there some sort of systemic review and drills of that so it doesn't happen again, right? Because, again, speaking as a parent, I really was concerned with my daughter's school, right? And when it went into power outage, you know, my daughter's a bit of overly concerned human being. It's scary, right? Even just...
Absolutely.
So I'm sure you are, but if there could be at some point some kind of communication to the public to let you know, to let us know, hey, this is what we're doing, or this is what happened. Even if it was a systemic failure, then there's something that needs to be addressed. If it was a single failure, that needs to be addressed in a certain way, and just to let the public know, these are the steps we want to take.
Good point.
And I appreciate your communication.
That's what we do. Okay, I'm just saying. What they know about it, we'll bring you somebody to bring it up, and they know the audience that's more than the board knows.
Was it 3 or 1, Mr. President?
I don't know that there was any, and I don't mean that being nasty to you, but I didn't know about any. And whether it was 1, 2, 3, or 4.
The only thing I know is the facility at the high school being kicked on automatically. And I was there after a day or 2 later, and I saw Santa and our electrical contractor working on it at the high school.
Okay.
Now, our different schools have different lights and what they control. You know, what kind of lighting, what they have, and what you know, the generator can handle. Do I know all of that? What I know in the middle school, it only handles the emergency items. Some of the schools have a little more additional lighting. So,
do we know if the outer schools other than the high school didn't come on?
Not good, an issue, but it's been fixed. All the generators that right now are working and are fixed.
Okay, so to your point, Mr. Kirsten, is that as of tonight, all the generators are working. And I would ask that in the future, that if we have this, again, we've talked about this before, that the board members are concerned about being hit in a soccer game, basketball game, wrestling match, or whatever, on things that if they don't know, they can't answer, and it seems kind of not right, and board members don't know about it. So we have the same knowledge as our community does. I appreciate it. Communicate that if something of this sort happens.
Mr. President?
Sure.
So that bothers me that potentially there was 1, but maybe 3. You know, drawing on past personal experience with industrial generators or of the likes, those things are cycled on a time basis, generally on a weekly basis. So we should have known about trip failures well before. My understanding, and I am not an electrician or a generator expert, right? But
you're right.
We should have known about trip failures well before and had a plan in place to handle that. So I just, you know, it's great they're up and running now, but I guess we have to be careful and put in place a plan, or at least recognize that those things do cycle, and they do give you a warning. If that cycle isn't complete.
And I agree. What I'd like to know then is that what is the cycle that they're on?
That's lovely, yeah.
Only because if it's not on, if they don't turn the switch for it to come on, it's not going to come on. So if it's not on, they're never going to know if it's going to come on.
Yep.
Okay. So again, I think that's something that, it might seem trivia to some. I think it's very important, especially in our elementary schools, with our kindergarten through I'm not gonna leave out the fifth graders, but again, you know, the younger ones in there, I think the fifth graders and fourth graders can kind of, you know, work it out with this, among themselves, that thing, but the younger ones, I think it's gonna be a very difficult situation to be in the dark. So, I'd like to know, you know, within the next, by the next board meeting, and we can just send a, in the packet, just send in, this is what it is, the timing that he's gone.
Mr. Hobbs, I'll meet with Ms. Gershel and Ms. Padavano tomorrow morning, and we'll make sure we get a report to the board at the next meeting. But please remember that the generators are take only, okay, care of certain areas, not the entire building, because we just can't have that.
No. I'm not asking to change everything now to go hooked up there. I just want to know that, are they on the timer? Because they are on timers. Sometimes they run for 15 minutes, sometimes they run for 10. Some companies run for a half hour. Just to make sure that the batteries that are in there are fully charged, not just have it click on and turn it off, because it's not going to charge the batteries that actually start it. Okay, I know that much about it. I've been in the business long enough to know what these generators do. So we need to know that for the board to feel comfortable about what we have out there. Okay,
I will do a follow-up with the superintendent, Mrs. Gershio. I won't be able to do anything tomorrow because I'm having a procedure, but maybe Thursday or Friday I can follow up, and maybe we can get that question answers. When do they go off? Saturday? And what is the scheme? What's the flip-flop? There's a flip-flop there, what goes over. So maybe we'll give a brief report on February 20th.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Again, any other new business or anything else? Actually, we're not in new business. We're under the public portion. So if there's no one else, how much?
If it's okay with I'll give a brief fire prevention, just like Mr. Najera. So still to this day, in 2018, there are people out there that do not have smoke detectors in their homes, apartments, or dwellings. It's carbon monoxide detectors. In December, there was a fatality in New York City that 13 occupants, children, adults died, and they were playing with, the kids were playing with, the stove. That apartment did not have any smoke detectors. They're very reasonable price for smoke detectors. Kitty now and then donates them to the communities. We get them like once a year. We'll go to houses as a fire department and see they don't have them, and sometimes even hanging up them. Please, I implore you folks out there, get smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors for the house. And one last final word is, if there is a fire in the house, shut the door. Keep the basement door. Keeping those doors shut and prevent the fire from growing and the smoke coming up. So get your smoke detectors. Thanks, Mr. Najera.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm going to check mine tomorrow. I'm not if I can go home tonight, John. At this time, I'll close the public portion. Just to make it official, because I'm not sure if I do it. Okay? Thank you. At this time, let it be resolved that the Roselle Park Board of Education meeting hereby convenes to executive session for discussion of the following subjects. Personnel. It is anticipated that, oh, okay, I'm sorry. That was this is the second executive session, and we will be going into this session for attorney-client privilege, personnel, and school security. It is anticipated that the executive session will take approximately 30 minutes. 30 minutes. We're going to hold you to that because I want to go home. Approximately 30 minutes. The board may take action when it reconvenes to the public session, and minutes of this executive session shall be released to the public when the reason for the executive session no longer exists. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Make a motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're in executive session. Thank you. Good night, everyone. We'll come back. Can I have a motion to go into open?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We had personnel meeting, no attorney conflicts and personnel plus security, no action is taken. So at this time, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, thank you.